Hey guys, I know I haven't posted in a while, but I really wanted to update a video on all of these changes, and I want to give my opinion on them because I think that it's pretty important to discuss these. I feel like Elemental was in a very good spot, or is in a very good spot in 10.0.7, but I feel like 10.1 is actually going to remove a lot of what makes Elemental good right now. And it's very disappointing because I see all these really good changes that they're making and what they're trying to accomplish. And it seems like they have a little bit of an understanding of what they want Elemental to be. And it felt like it was just synergizing very well with what like the community wanted. And like I've been seeing a lot of comments on my YouTube videos, and people have been saying they don't like the direction that it's headed. And a lot of people are agreeing with me, which, I understand it's on my YouTube channel. So a lot of people will agree with me no matter what. But overall, I just think the changes that are coming in 10.1 just don't really make a whole lot of sense, and I'll explain why. So I want to go over the most recent patch notes and kind of go over everything like step by step. So the first thing is they're making deeply rooted elements activate more consistently, which is very good because as they say here, it was always like all or nothing. You either got all the procs or you got no procs. And so this should feel a little bit more consistent, which this will help out our consistent and sustained damage without having so much RNG dependency. Now, it is nice to get those occasional like back-to-back procs, but with the RNG associated with that, it was never very reliable in the first place. So I feel like having more consistent Ascendance procs will be better for us overall. Now, here's where kind of some of the trouble starts. They say Flame Shock's dispel protection from control of lava is now baseline part of Flame Shock, which is good. This is a good thing. This needs to happen more. Honestly, I don't even think this is enough. I think they should go as far as to give Flame Shock like a second charge, or to give Flame Shock like maybe no cooldown, but like nerf its damage. Something to give Flame Shock more dispel protection, because I'm sure as any of you that have been playing through this Retribution Paladin meta right now have been experiencing, is that it's very, very frustrating when your Flame Shocks get dispelled, because now you can't use your lava bursts. I mean, you can, but you're going to do half the damage, right? You're going to be doing a lot less damage from your lava burst, because every single time flame shocks are getting dispelled, especially if it's right when you use your lava burst or when you use your primordial wave or something, it really fucks you up. And when you have like Retribution Paladin with Fistweaver, which also has a lot of fucking dispels through Peace Weaver, and then you have like Demo Warlock, which is constantly fucking stunning you and stuff. It's so insanely unfun as Elemental at that point that something else needs to be done. And more dispel protection for Flame Shock, I think, is necessary. I feel like this is a good step forward, but it's not enough. But the reason this is not necessarily this is a problem, but the reason that this becomes a problem is down here, which I will get to in a minute. But I want to go over everything else first. So, Season Wins is now available to all specs, but now Season Wins lasts 18 seconds and can stack up to 3 times. Now, this is actually very strong, but the problem is that most of the time you don't want to use your kicks on the DPS. You want to try to save your kicks for the healers, because every time you interrupt them and you stop them from healing, except Fist Weaver, obviously, which is really fucking annoying. But whenever you stop the healer from healing, it puts more pressure on their team overall. And so Season Wins, what it does, if you don't know already, when you interrupt a spell with Wind Shear, it decreases the damage you take from that spell school by 15%. So this would be like something really strong against shadow play, because every shadow spell you interrupt would reduce your damage by, like, if you stack this up to 3 times, that'd be 45% damage reduction from shadow. But the problem is that it lasts 18 seconds and your Wind Shear cooldown is 12 seconds. So you have a 6-second window to get a Wind Shear off every single time throughout the entire fight. And yeah, you're going to be taking a lot less damage, but I just feel like that's terrible game design. I don't know who would want to take this talent and who would ever have fun with it. Even if this was like the most OP talent ever, say it was 100% damage reduction, I still feel like it would be so annoying to use, because you'd basically just be sitting on your Wind Shear the whole time to make sure that you're not getting any damage or that you're you can get your damage reduction. It would just be really, really frustrating. And so I feel like they need to nerf maybe the damage percentage and make it last longer or something like that. But I see what they're trying to go for, but I just still don't think anyone's going to want to take it, because having to micromanage your wind shear with a 6-second timer is going to be really annoying. Now, static field totem is available to all specs, so basically they just added it to restoration. Now, the new PvP talent, Burrow, this is massive. So it's kind of like Turtle, but you get to go beneath the ground. You're unattackable, removes all movement and parrying effects, increases your movement speed, which Turtle doesn't do. And when it ends, enemies are knocked into the air and take damage. And you can see here they actually increase Burrow's damage, which I haven't tested for myself. So 200%, this could mean anything. You know, I don't really know how much damage it does. I don't know if it's comparable to like Control of Lava when they dispel. Maybe one of you guys can tell me. But this, I mean, this is very, very strong. Just to add in as a PvP talent, this is massive. This is absolutely huge. And you can see my last video, I talked about this more in depth. But they moved the nameplate closer to the ground, so I'm assuming it was something like it was just where it normally is, so it's kind of harder to tell where the shaman is, so that's acceptable. They removed swelling waves and spectral recovery, which was kind of weird because I think swelling waves was very good for enhancement. And I think that has to do with some of those changes that they made to how the Maelstrom weapon works with enhancement, which again, they're making some really weird fucking changes, and the changes that they're making to enhancement, I think, are also bad. I really want to start trying some enhancement shaman more, because I've been seeing some like insane damage numbers from them, like some single target builds that some shamans have been running, and it seems really fun. But I just enhance the play style. I don't know. I just can't get behind it. I hate how enhances rotation is just like this amalgamation of different buttons that feel like completely unnecessarily part of the rotation. You know, you got like Crash Lightning, you got Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Flame Shock, Frost Shock. You have to like use all these random abilities. You have to use a dot, you have to use a slow, you have to use an AoE ability, you have to use your single target ability, but it's all part of the same rotation. And it just feels very, very awkward, and I feel like it's not very synergetic. Now, when you remove something like Swelling Waves, this is very big. And actually, Swelling Waves was a PvP talent I wanted to run as Elemental because of all this extra healing that we're getting. Swelling Waves actually seemed like it was going to be very good. But that's one of the problems that I'm going to be addressing here soon. Spectral Recovery, again, I don't understand why they removed this. They should have just like changed how this worked or something. Maybe they could have put this in with Spirit Wolf. I don't know. So here's all the nerfs to Stormkeeper and kind of some compensation. Like you can see they increased damage here. Here's where they removed the PvP talent and they added it in baseline. So, okay. Here's where we start with the issues involved. Now, they removed Control of Lava because they made it baseline, right? And why would they do that? They want to make that baseline because they feel like that should be part of Flame Shock's core ability. And it feels very awkward to have a PvP talent basically modifying an ability to do what it should do baseline. And then what do? They add in a new PvP talent that literally makes it feel mandatory again. I don't understand why they do this. They're like taking steps backwards. They're like, oh, we're gonna give you this baseline because it's not, because we feel like you shouldn't take something that's necessary, but we're gonna give you this new talent that feels necessary. Same thing with Burrow. We're gonna give you a new talent that feels necessary. Like, what shaman is not going to take Burrow? You know, 5-second immunity basically to all damage. That's insane. Like, we have one defensive, and then you give us a talent that is better than Turtle. Like, you give any other class the same ability and they would take it in a heartbeat. You know, I just don't understand why they feel like this needs to be a PvP talent. So that's my first gripe, is they're adding more necessary PvP talents. And the reason this feels necessary is because of the 4 set. Well, the tier set, I mean. The 2 set gives you Stormkeeper, and then the 4 set makes it so when you consume Stormkeeper, adds like some modifier bullshit that is just really garbage. But it's mostly the 2 set because you get Stormkeeper. And so when you get the 2 set, you're basically forced back into the Stormkeeper build. Why? Because you want to increase the damage of your lightning bolts and like reducing the cast time and stuff, and the way that Blizzard is forcing more hard casting. And so when they add this new PvP talent, they increase the damage of lightning bolt, chain lightning, and lava burst by 20%. Lava surge instead reduces the cast time, stacking up to 2 times by 25%. And now volcanic surge also increases the chance for lava surge to trigger by 100%. So your volcanic surges are going to be triggering a lot faster, which they were already kind of triggering decently fast with our haste build. And so keeping that up was never really a problem anyways, and now it's by 100%. So basically you're just going to have 100% uptime on your lava surge, which is going to reduce the cast time of your abilities. But it's just going to feel really clunky when you have high haste, but you need to wait for your volcanic surges to stack up in order to have fast casts. So the whole interaction with this PvP talent just feels very weird. And I think it's definitely awkward and dumb. I don't think this is a good idea. I think if they want to force hard casting some way, this is not the way to do it. I think this is a very bad idea. 1, because you're forcing a PvP talent. 2, because you're forcing damage through PvP talent, which Elemental already has a problem with modifiers and abilities altering its damage. 3, you have a reduced cast time through a proc, which is increased more than your haste. And so this is just overall very, very awkward and extremely like, I don't know. I just want to call it dumb. I just think it's dumb. I don't know who designed this, but it just feels like they just took a huge step backwards, and they didn't really understand how to make Shaman hardcast. And they were just like, oh, let's do something with Lava Surge, since Lava Surge is the problem. Which, I mean, honestly, it's Flame Shock, because Flame Shock is doing most of the damage throughout the fight. But, I mean, hey, at least they're trying to do something. I don't know. But here we have some changes to Volcanic Surge now. So, Lava Burst no longer consumes Volcanic Surge, and the cast time of Lava Burst is no longer reduced. So now, it's not going to reduce the cast time, but it doesn't consume it anymore. So you're basically permanently just going to have a damage modifier, which again, if you watch some of my earliest videos about the problems of Shaman and how to make us better, I talk about damage modifiers and how damage modifiers are a problem with our damage because it can be extremely high or extremely low. And when you have all these modifiers at once, you can just delete someone, especially if you proc those deeply rooted elements. And so them adding more modifiers just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they're adding more modifiers. We don't need more modifiers. We need less modifiers. We need more sustained damage. And we need more options for our burst to be used without 14 fucking global cooldowns. Volcanic Surge increases the damage of Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt by 25%, was 20, so they buffed it by 5%. And then they also increased it by 45% from 20% for Volcanic Surge. So now they're like making Volcanic Surge feel extremely necessary, because imagine running either the Lightning build or the Icefury Lava Burst build without taking Volcanic Surge. Like just imagine missing out on 45% Lava Burst damage. And it really sucks, because now you have to hardcast everything as a class that is primarily the kill target. If you're in an arena and the Shaman is not being killed, your team is making a mistake. Like, that's literally the problem. Burrow is going to help that, but the way that all these classes are changing now, it almost feels like it's not even going to matter, because the ret meta is still insane. Even with these nerfs coming Tuesday, it just feels like ret is still going to be insanely strong. Warrior's still insanely strong. Fistweaver, I feel like, is still going to be decently strong. And so trying to hardcast anything, even with precognition becoming baseline for all casters, I feel like it's just not going to be enough. And so in order for shamans to do more damage now, because obviously if shamans can do 45% more lava burst damage, you know what's going to happen is when shamans can do that much damage, say if they're not focusing the shaman and a shaman is free casting lava burst with 45% extra fucking damage, guess what? Lava burst is going to get fucking nerfed. Either that or volcanic surge is going to get nerfed. And then you know what's going to happen? Shamans are going to feel fucking shit again because now we have to hardcast stuff that's nerfed. Because the idiots that aren't focusing the shaman, which you should be focusing the shaman anyways, are going to cause elemental to get nerfed because they're going to complain on Twitter that shamans are too fucking strong because they're free casting 45% stronger lava bursts. And so this is the foreseeable future, if you want to come back to this video, that I see happening. One, either people aren't going to focus the shaman and lava burst is going to get nerfed because it's going to be hitting so fucking hard. Or two, shamans are just going to continue being trained and it's going to feel miserable as fucking hell trying to do anything in the game because everything has to be hardcasted as a shaman. Now, my second point of contention, long first point. So the second point has to do with the tier set again. So the fact that they're forcing Stormkeeper after they just recently buffed Icefury. Why? Sorry if you didn't have a chance to see those lava surge things. They were behind my camera. But why would they buff Icefury to finally have a competitive build alongside Stormkeeper? I loved the Icefury build before the buffs. As you can see in my earliest videos, I loved the Icefury build. And then I went into Stormkeeper and I had a lot of fun with that because now with the higher haste we got, it was a lot easier to use. But they buffed Icefury, so now Icefury hit like a fucking truck, and now Icefury was a very viable build in Arena. And then you know what they do? They add in the tier set and then force you down Stormkeeper. Like why are they making all these steps forward and then taking steps back? They finally added 2 very strong viable builds for you to choose between, and then they force one. They finally removed the PvP talents because they felt like they were too necessary, and then they add 2 more necessary PvP talents. And it's just mind-boggling how they, like, it seems like they're making progression, they're finally understanding, and then they just take it all away again. It's really ridiculous. Now, the 2 set and the 4 set both have very bad design. Now, the 2 set, it gives you like a Stormkeeper like every 40 seconds or something. Now, there's a few points of contention with this. So, do you get 2 stacks of Stormkeeper? Like, do you get both lightning bolt charges like you do a normal Stormkeeper, or do you only get like the 1 charge? The other thing is, now are we going to be forced to run the second Stormkeeper build where you go down past Elemental Blast? Now, are you gonna have to start running that instead of like the Lightning Rod build? And the other thing too is Stormkeeper normally lasts 16 seconds. And so if you don't use it within that 16 seconds, then you're kind of fucked. So if you just use, say you just use Stormkeeper right before the proc, and then you get the Stormkeeper proc, is it going to stack up to 3 times? Or are you just going to lose it? So there's a lot of weird interactions with Stormkeeper that can happen that I haven't figured out and I haven't tested myself, so I don't know how they're going to work. But knowing Blizzard, that I'm sure one of those are going to exist, and it's going to be very frustrating. So I don't really like the design of it because now we have to make another weak aura to track when our proc is going to come in, and I just think that's dumb. And then the 4 set, how they made it like revolve around AoE abilities is also cringe. The fact that they didn't even consider single target at all or PvP, just, again, it's like, why are they taking steps back, you know? I don't understand why they're doing this shit. Also, why are they forcing Elemental to hardcast when a lot of these other classes aren't being forced to hardcast? I saw they made a note in like Shadow's PvP changes that Shadow was able to do too much instant casting, but with all the changes that they've added, they're still going to be able to do a lot of that. And then you have like Frost and Fire Mage and even Arcane Mage. Arcane Mage and BM hunters can, or Arcane Mages can shoot behind fucking pillars like Marksman hunters. And then you have BM hunters, which can do their whole fucking damage rotation, which is like one of the top specs right now in the entire bracket. And they could just do it all instant cast anyways. And it just doesn't make any sense, like why they're making the class with the least amount of defensives, the most amount of global cooldowns, the most trained class, why they're like the first ones to have to hardcast, to be forced into this new mode of hardcasting. It's like, if the damage was the problem, just nerf the fucking damage, man. I like the playstyle. I like the instant cast meatballs. If that's the fucking problem, dude, make us like C tier damage. I don't give a shit. I just want my class to be fun. If I'm sitting there spamming fucking Lava Burst and Lightning Bolt and alternating and trying to use Icefury and Frost Shock and I can't get off a single fucking cast because my character is just being trained into the ground 24/7, I don't want to fucking play it, you know? If I can throw out a meatball and it does 4 fucking damage, it's better than just sitting there getting kicked every single fucking global. You know, it feels very frustrating that they're not understanding at all what Elemental has to go through in PvP. It feels like whoever's making these PvP changes has never played a fucking Elemental Shaman before ever in the PvP. So I got 2 more points to make. So with these lava, if you say you take Volcanic Surge and your lava surges are no longer triggering instant lava bursts, so your lava surge is going to be triggering more often, but the only thing it's going to do really now is increase your damage that you do with your lava burst. So if you're not hard casting lava burst, you're going to be hard casting lightning bolts, which, I mean, it sounds like you're always going to be having lava surges since they can't be consumed anymore. So you're probably just going to be spamming lava bursts until you run out of charges. And then you have to hard cast lightning bolt. The hard casted lightning bolts barely do any fucking damage. Yeah, it got buffed by 53%, but I don't even think that's enough. I mean, a hard casted lightning bolt barely does fucking anything. You can see here, a Stormkeeper had to modify it by 115% to make it feel strong. And not only that, but it was also buffed with 2 elemental overloads through Surge of Power. And so Stormkeeper was strong, but it was because it modified its damage so fucking much. 115% damage, 2 extra overloads, and then especially if you ran the other talent. And so like when you have Lightning Bolt just baseline, it didn't do very much damage. And when you modify 0 by 53%, it's still fucking 0. And I'm not saying Lightning Bolt does 0 damage, but it did very low damage. I'm not sure how much it's going to do after all these changes. Maybe, again, one of you guys, maybe you can tell me down in the description. And with Volcanic Surge, it's going to do an extra 25%. Maybe you can let me know how much it's hitting. I want to do some testing here soon. I haven't had a whole lot of time, as you could tell. But I just feel like hardcasting Lightning Bolt is just going to feel very shitty. And you're just going to be waiting for your lava surges. I feel like all you're going to do is just lava burst, lava burst, lava burst, and then use your utility, maybe run around and fucking Ghost Wolf, play some totems that just get instantly fucking killed anyways, and then lava burst, lava burst, lava burst. I feel like you're not even going to want to spend a global on fucking Lightning Bolt. Because if you get kicked in Lightning Bolt, then what? You can't heal, you can't use defensives, you can't use your totems, and it just feels very shitty. You can't hex. You can't use. I think you can't even use Spirit Walker's Grace. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but you can't use like most of your abilities. So getting kicked on Lightning Bolt feels very bad, and that's your longest fucking damaging cast. Like I just don't understand why. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe since this isn't an effect, maybe Lightning Bolt isn't your longest cast, but it's you know, it's a cast. You still have to cast the fucking thing. And trying to cast the Lightning Bolt with a warrior and a Ret Paladin and a Fistweaver on you is just fucking impossible. So, I mean, I really, really challenge Blizzard to take an Elemental Shaman into PvP, like more than 1600 rated, and try to fucking cast anything and just see how miserable of a time you have. Or like an Affliction Warlock or something. It's just like trying to hardcast anything in the game feels so fucking bad. If they're going to start going down this route of forcing casters to hardcast, what they need to do is they start needing to taking away melee's mobility and the amount of CC they have, instant CC. Maybe they need to start giving melee casted abilities with like a small range or something. I don't know, but they can't just be so one-sided with this. They can't just be like, oh, we're gonna make all these casters hard cast now, but every single melee is gonna be a fucking NASCAR, and they're gonna be throwing hammers like a angry carpenter at you, stunning you every 3 fucking seconds. You know, everyone says they miss the rogue meta. I fucking don't. I'd rather have a rep paladin come in and one-shot me as soon as the game fucking starts than sit there for 3 hours not being able to play my character because a rogue is stun locking me and blinding me and smoke bombing me and vanishing and, you know, Cloak of Shadows. It's like, I would much rather just get fucking one shot and restart my queue and sit there for a half an hour than go through that bullshit. So I think too much CC is a problem. And I also think having too much mobility and just whenever you can have some class shut down another class so easily, that's a problem, right? Oh, and my last point of contention is they removed Flameshock's 15% haste for no reason. They never explained why. They never justified it. And they never compensated for it. And so we're just missing out on some Flameshock damage baseline for no reason. And which I think they could have justified. They could have said that was necessary, which obviously Flameshock was our highest hitting damage because it's just a very fast ticking proc that hits for a decent amount of damage, and you can spread it over 3 targets throughout the course of the game. So it keeps up some sustained damage. But the fact that they just removed it without saying anything or justifying it again or compensating just feels very wrong. So I feel like right now with Shaman and 10.0.7, it's in a very good spot, and we have a lot of extra healing. We still have our instant cast damage. We can be Kings of the Pillar. So if you don't know what Kings of the Pillar mean, you could basically hug a pillar. And if you've watched a lot of my PvP videos, you'll see me do this. I'll sit behind line of sight against mostly a caster, and I'll peek out and I'll throw an instant lava burst, and I'll go back behind the pillar so they can't cast anything. And I'll peek out and I'll throw another lava burst, and I'll peek back over. Now, this could be a problem, but the reason that I feel like it's fine for elemental again is because we only have 1 defensive. So we have to avoid as much damage as possible. And so I feel like letting a class like us be able to do that was actually okay. Maybe it's not the best way to do it. Maybe they could nerf the amount of instant cast lava bursts that we get through Lava Surge. Maybe that would be a more appropriate reason. But I feel like just outright trying to delete the whole instant cast talent build that Elemental has is just wrong. So again, they could nerf how much it occurs and maybe even its fucking damage, but to just completely get rid of it, I feel like it doesn't feel very good. And they're also removing your option to choose to opt out of it. So I know some people will actually probably like this kind of play style. I personally don't, but it's the fact that they just removed every fucking option they just achieved for Elemental in this patch. It feels like every single Elemental that you're going to see in 10.1 is going to be running the exact same build. As soon as they figure out which abilities do the most damage, they're just going to run that build. If the second Stormkeeper charge is working out very good and it synergizes, and the 2 set works better than I think it's going to, then they're just going to run that. If Lava Surge is doing ridiculous fucking damage, they're just going to run whatever makes Lava Burst stronger. This is going to be so one-sided that Elemental has ever been. I promise you that you're not going to see very much diversity, and it's going to be a problem, and it's going to be immediately fucking changed. I can almost guarantee that something is going to get either nerfed or changed, or I don't know, but overall I just think these changes are bad. Now, I might have missed something that I wanted to discuss, but it's already been like 30 minutes of me just screaming at the screen, so I'm just very frustrated with how Blizzard is handling this. You guys will have to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I hope they add in some more changes and fix some of this stuff before 10.1, because being forced into 2 more PvP talents is just going to feel really shitty, because now we're going to have to miss out on like Grounding Totem, Skyfury Totem, whatever, you know, and missing out on those is going to be very detrimental, I feel like, because it's like, oh, here's a new PvP talent, a defensive, but now you have to lose Grounding Totem or something, you know. And here's some extra damage, but now you have to lose Sky Fury Totem, which gave you 20% crit damage, which is basically 20% lava burst damage. I feel like it's just going to feel very shitty. I wish they would also address the totem issue with your totems just instantly fucking dying with an auto attack. But until something's actually done with Shaman, like a rework with the totem system or something, and they take a look at more of the like this hard casting bullshit, like stop trying to force so much hard casting for elemental. That's why no one wanted to fucking play elemental before, and so many people loved playing elemental in this patch, was because it was more fun. They need to take a look at that. They need to figure out why people like playing this playstyle more. You know why? Because no one wants to fucking hard cast in a meta where every melee is a NASCAR interrupting you every fucking global. So I hope they make some more changes, but until then, I don't really have high hopes for 10.1. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I'll try to post some more videos for you guys. I'll try to do some PTR testing. Maybe this weekend I'll do some PTR testing on stream or something. But until then, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.